A wild bobcat walked straight toward a lost baby duck in the rain, and what happened next will leave you speechless. Before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe, because this story will touch your heart like nothing else. That morning, rain fell softly on the farm. Not a storm, just a steady hush on the leaves, the pond, and the old barn roof. Everything felt calm, until trouble began. 5 tiny ducklings waddled after their mother across the wet grass. She was leading them to the pond, the same path as always. But this time, something went wrong. A sudden flash in the reeds startled her. A crow burst out, flapping its wings and cawing loud. The mother duck panicked, and in that chaos, the ducklings scattered. 4 made it to the water. 1 did not. The smallest tumbled into a ditch, completely out of sight. The mother duck called again and again, sharp with worry. But the little one couldn't answer. It was stuck, cold and muddy, chirping weakly under the tangled roots. From his porch, the farmer Eli saw the commotion. He grabbed his coat and ran into the rain, searching along the pond and through the tall grass, calling as he went. But there was no sign of the missing duckling. Finally, he stopped and shook his head. At this age, 1 night alone, it wouldn't survive. What Eli didn't know was that someone else was looking. High on the bank, beneath a pine tree, a bobcat watched. But she wasn't hunting. Eli called her Shadow, because she moved like one, silent, quick. For 2 years, she had lived on the edge of his land. Always distant. Always careful. Never close. Until now. Shadow stepped out into the open. Eli froze. She wasn't heading for the barn or the chickens. She was following something faint. A tiny sound, weak, barely there. Shadow glided through the brush, down the slope, past the old tractor, and straight to the ditch. There, under the twisted roots, the duckling trembled. The bobcat sniffed the tiny ball of feathers. The duckling squeezed its eyes shut, too scared to breathe. But Shadow didn't pounce. Instead, she sat down, then gently nudged the duckling with her nose. Nothing. She tried again. Slowly, the little one wobbled out. Shadow turned and began to walk, not fast, just enough so the duckling could follow. Step by muddy step, she led it up the bank, across the field, and toward the pond. From a distance, Eli watched, his breath caught in his throat. A bobcat, leading a duckling. Not eating it, helping it. The duckling chirped softly. Shadow stopped, waited, then walked on. Finally, they reached the pond. The mother duck rushed forward, pecking and cleaning her baby, pulling it under her wing. The other ducklings crowded close, chirping in excitement. Shadow stood at the tree line, watching. Then, without a sound, she slipped back into the woods. Eli didn't tell anyone, not at first. Who would believe him? But every spring after that, when the ducks returned, so did Shadow. Sometimes, she sat quietly on the bank. The ducklings never feared her. 1 even waddled close once. Shadow blinked slowly, almost like a smile. Years passed. The farm stayed peaceful. The pond stayed still. And sometimes, at dusk, you might see her. On the ridge. Watching. Not as a hunter, but as a guardian. Some bonds need no words, only a moment of kindness, and the courage to do what's right, even when no one's watching.